Well, today we saw the premiere of My Little Pony Season 5, and a lot of great stuff is coming from that. A ton of reactors, reviewers, and analysts are getting back into the game where they've either previously been dormant or doing fan works or non-pony stuff or whatever. And also the series is back. Not as good as what I got out of Season 2 and Season 4, but it's a bit more interesting than what I got out of Season 1 and Season 3. There's definitely something that people are really getting out of this if they understand the culture and history and literature that this is all based on. What we have happen in this episode is we're introduced to the map in the palace, which will tell the ponies where they have to go on their various missions. And a clever thing happened in Rainbow Rocks is they showed off the castle and the thrones and the table, but they didn't activate the map. If you look very carefully at Rainbow Rocks, Rarity is the only pony sitting in her throne. Twilight's not on a throne, Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy are not on a throne, Applejack's not on a throne, and Pinkie Pie's on the wrong throne. So the fact that this wasn't revealed previously, and this is the first time that all 6 ponies are sitting in the proper thrones to activate the map, was a good idea. The scene plays out almost exactly like it does in the preview that we got in the conventions, and similar to how it does in the clips that Hasbro released in their later previews. We get to the still unnamed village where all the ponies are equal. They all have the equal sign Cutie Mark and the fate smiles. And right away the 6 get into different sides of the issue. Fluttershy considering this to be a very pleasant town, and she wants to get drawn into this way of life, and she wishes every pony could live this way. Pinkie Pie can't stand the false smiles and has the most angry expressions on her face for the whole thing, as if fate smiles were the worst thing, the most offensive thing that could be done to a pony who likes bringing honest smiles. And then Rarity can't stand it for the lack of fashion. Rainbow Dash can't stand it for the lack of competition and the lack of importance that they put on cutie marks. And then Applejack and Twilight seem to be on the fence with the issue. As the story goes on, we realize that not every pony is satisfied with this way of life, and some of them wish they could get back to the way things used to be. This leads the 6 to the wall of cutie marks, where all of the ponies' cutie marks have been locked away thanks to this magical relic. And we learn that there's 9 of these magical relics, which sets up a possible MacGuffin hunt that could happen later in the series, or could be just some extra world building that doesn't go anywhere. We'll find out down the road where these enchanted artifacts are going. When it's revealed that the 6 are stirring up trouble for the town, it's decided that they need to be equalized, and with an Admiral Akbar-like reaction of, "It's a trap!" and everybody's gonna make that joke, the six are captured and equalized. And we see, with the equal cutie mark on them now, the six are getting more and more equalized as time goes on. Every time they try to share one of their talents, they flank flashes, and the uniqueness that comes from their unique talents gets shut off, and they get pulled back to being equal. And in fact, this equalization has turned off Applejack's unique ability to make metaphors through country language. It's shut off Rainbow Dash's superior athletic skill. It's shut off Fluttershy's ability to talk to animals. It's shut off Rarity's sense of style. It's shut off Pinkie Pie's sense of humor. And it's shut off Twilight's ability to use magic. And those abilities get more and more repressed the more the main six try to use those abilities. So it's a very slow process, this equalization, and that buys them time to get out of the situation by having Fluttershy pretend that she's already fallen under this spell and has decided to join this community. And that's when Fluttershy goes out, she does her act, and she realizes where the cutie marks are being held, and she discovers that the leader is faking her equalization and still has her cutie mark. When this is revealed, the whole town turns against the leader, and they go to get their cutie marks back and basically riot their way into getting the marks back. The leader's forced to flee town. Interesting thing that gets done with the ending of this episode is that it's not the main six who save the day. We've been so used to something happens, Twilight Sparkle saves the day, Rainbow Beam of Friendship vanquishes the villain, and the villain is either completely destroyed or instantly reformed. But not the case this time. This time the main six had been nullified through equalization and were unable to use their talents and were unable to move with the speed and agility needed to actually save the day. And they had to rely on strangers, ponies that he had never met before, who they had only recently saved, to be willing to step up and save the day. And that's where we're introduced to 4 new characters. Sugar Belle, who has the ability to bake various sweets and cakes and things. The Pegasus's name is never said in the episode, but it's in the credits as Night Glider. Double Diamond, who is a avid skier and is into extreme sports and the like. And my personal favorite, Party Favor, who is the one who stood up for his friends when they were being accused of betraying the town, and Starlight Glimmer wanted to know who was betraying the town, and it was Party Favor who said, "It's me and only me." To protect his friends, he was willing to go into the locked room and be punished. And it's Party Favor who revealed the false cutie mark. And Party Favor also has the amazing ability to construct basically anything out of balloons that he pulls from nowhere. So now, fascinatingly enough, we have 3 party Earth ponies: Pinkie Pie, Cheese Sandwich, and Party Favor. and all three of them showing these amazing, unique magical abilities, which will lead to some interesting discussions in the analyst community in the coming days. Now, one of the first things that comes to mind is it didn't quite go the way I expected it to go. A lot of theories being kicked around involved ideas like Discord Celestia, Luna and Cadence having to save the day, or Spike having to save the day because Spike stayed behind and he doesn't have a cutie mark to take away, which is kind of why they had to write him out of the episode, because a character who can't be utilized through cutie mark magic manipulation wouldn't really have anything to do. I really do like the way that this is the time when the main six don't save the day and they don't defeat the villain. The other ponies that we were just now introduced to have to save the day, and the villain actually gets away, which means that Starlight Glimmer could turn out to be a reoccurring villain. Some pony who shows up again and again throughout the course of the series as it goes on to cause trouble. I'd like to see her reused just enough times. Not too few and not too many. If it's too many times, she ends up being like Team Rocket, a villain who can never win. If it's too few times, we end up forgetting about her and she ends up being underutilized. I also want to see the new ponies we were just introduced to get used again and again in future episodes, because they did have interesting personalities and they do feel like the kinds of characters that would come back. A couple of plots I'd write with Starlight Glimmer. One, a CMC involved plot, because this is where the differences between cutie marks matters the most, and this is where her message would have the strongest impact to equalize the gap between the CMC, Diamond Tiara, and Silver Spoon by giving them all cutie marks, which would tame Diamond Tiara and Silver Spoon into no longer being bullies, and would get them to leave the CMC alone, and it would give the CMC what they've always wanted, to obtain cutie marks. It'd be even better timing if this was pulled at a time when one CMC had a cutie mark and the three no longer felt equal, and Starlight Glimmer showed up to offer them equalization again, under the impression that this would restore their friendship. Another thing I'd like to see with Starlight Glimmer is for her to face a problem that she can't handle herself, and she needs to rely on friends to help her through it. It could be interesting to involve these now 8 relics, because the so-called 9th relic turned out to be a fake, because that's something that you wouldn't bring up if it wasn't going to get used again. If 8 relics are a thing that gets used, I don't know how they would fit into all of these episodes. I also wonder what 6 ponies are supposed to do with 8 relics. And maybe we've already seen these relics. Maybe the Inspiration Manifestation and Alicorn Amulet were 2 of these 8 relics. It'd also be interesting to see if Starlight Glimmer has a connection to Star Swirl or Sunset Shimmer or any of the other characters that we're already familiar with. Thank you for watching, and good night.